The open enrollment period for health insurance will only run November 1st to December 15th, so make sure you're covered for 2018 with a local carrier you can trust. Children's Community Health Plan, an affiliate of Children's Hospital of Wisconsin, offers Together with CCHP, a health insurance plan that includes a new catastrophic plan for individuals under the age of 30. Our plans give you access to high-quality health care from a broad network of providers in Southeast Wisconsin. Learn more at togethercchp.org.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hey kids, good afternoon. It's me and it's a Thursday. I wish I could tell you that I was back to health, but sadly I'm not. God, it must have been a curse. I'll tell you, I was just in New York City and then I come back home. And I'm not going to lie, I want to say it's probably a 30-degree temperature change that makes this happen, but maybe it's just I'm completely exhausted and worn out. I don't want to forget to remind everybody, because I haven't really publicly had an opportunity since I got home. I've had kids and I've been exhausted and sick, but to anybody that's listening in, and I will post this eventually, I cannot thank everyone enough, from the participants to the filmmakers, to those that submitted and won, to those that submitted and didn't win, to the people that came to the venue, to the people that gave me the venue, meaning Christopher at the Doghouse Craft and Kitchen, to the musicians that performed, to Trisha O'Neill, who was my right arm, Rachel, who puts up with me every day in New York City, to the publicists that helped me out, to the people that stepped up and found me photographers, videographers. The list is just nuts. Those that volunteered to help, I just cannot thank you enough for all of the determination and work and time and effort you put into the festival. I have to say that I am truly blessed to have such wonderful friends and people that surround me. So thank you for that. Thank you for the encouragement. Thank you for the positive reviews. Thank you for just having faith in me, actually. In fact, so much so that you want me to do another one. The verdict's not out on that yet. It's way too soon for me to be thinking about that because it just got done. So we'll kind of see how things go as far as that goes. So I wanted to remind everybody, big thanks on that. If you haven't seen it over the weekend, I'm going to post up the pictures on the Art is Alive Film Festival Facebook page. Otherwise, Art is Alive Film Festival.yolasite.com is my website. I'm going to post up the various videos that we have from the event. I'm also going to post up the pictures, so you all get a chance to kind of come to New York with us, so to speak. It was an amazing experience, but no one ever tells you how exhausting it is when there's a one-man wrecking crew, as in me, doing the entire thing. So am I exhausted and cranky? Yes. Boy, I'm sure Dr. Alvarez is excited to talk to me now, right? Oh, it'll be lovely. I don't want to forget to remind everybody that we have a double-decker this week. MJ's client today, Dr. Edward Alvarez, is coming on the line in just a moment. And then tomorrow we have another one of our clients. We're going to be speaking about the upcoming Naval Expo that's going on in New York City, which I wish I could attend, but sadly I'm back in Wisconsin where it's 35 and we're all freezing. So we're going to have my guest on at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time tomorrow. Don't want to forget to mention that. Also, of course, reminder to everybody, you know that my friend Alyssa Stoll, who happens to be on the Bravo Real Estate Wars show, please, I cannot tell you how much time and effort it takes. About 30 seconds to go on the website, I should say, bravotv.com, look up Real Estate Wars. They have a poll going on. Please do the best that you can to help her out. She's not only a phenomenal real estate person, she's just a great gal to know. And more importantly, she's going to start working with the filmmakers in the community to provide location shoots, which I think is fabulous. So if you get a chance, again, it's bravotv.com/real estate wars. Go ahead and check her out as far as that goes. And I bet there's one more bit of news. Let me just grab my documents here 1 second. So basically what we're going to be doing is tonight, quickie on local music, and then we'll get started with my interview. If you're going to be out and about West Dallas, you need to visit Chris Hodgson, local musician, from 7 to 10, and that's at Paulie's. Right down the road from there, we have the amazing Marcel, who is a guest on the show, as well as Charles Barber, who's doing the open jam at the Havana Cigar Bar. So if you get a chance, please, I'm a big advocate for local anything, so go out and support our indie artists. So without further ado, we'll get Dr. Alvarez on the line and start talking to him. Hello, Edward.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, my gosh. I'm very nervous. I'm petrified, actually, because you're MJ's client, and she has legitimately excellent talent, like left, right, and sideways. She's so talented. And I did my research, and you're a really super big deal. Super huge, dude. You're awesome.
Only in my own mind. Only in my own mind am I a big deal.
You lie. I see your Facebook, and I see your Instagram, and I see all this good stuff. So today we're doing the show from my couch. As in case you didn't hear the beginning portion, I'm sicker than a dog and feeling like junk, but I'm still capable, and we're still here. So we're going to get through with this. I have a lot of questions. But I want to talk about, obviously most people recognize you from the dental and the cosmetic side of things. So I want to talk about something that I never would have guessed, which is apparently there's something called Eddie Alvarez music. And I think that is so wickedly cool that your day job is very professional. And then here he is in the club. He's like dancing around, and I'm like, how funny is that? Because my dentist doesn't do that, just so you know. Totally doesn't do that. So Eddie Alvarez music, it's been going on for 4 years. Talk to me a bit about how a professional guy decides that he wants to go and do music and be a DJ. How does that happen?
Wow, well, music I think is in my bones. My dad was actually on the radio back in Colombia a long, long time ago, and he would sing and he'd play the harmonica and everything like that. And I think the music gene runs very strong in the family. My nephews have it as well. They play instruments. One of them is in a medical school, and he's always performing with his band and whatnot. So I think it's in us. For me, it started like most kids, playing in the high school band. I played trombone. I sang tenor. I played in the jazz band, in the marching band, all those things. And then I went to NYU for my undergrad, and I did some music theory there and, continued some music studies. And music kind of took a little bit of a back burner position just because then I started concentrating on my dental career and my dental school. A few years after, I'd say about 5 or 6 years after graduating from dental school, in 2004, I ended up going to Ibiza with a couple of buddies. And I had always loved the music. I always loved, the vibe. But once I got to see it there, the whole DJ culture was just amazing. And I remember coming back to New York and telling my friend, I said, not only am I going to be, a big dentist one day, I'm going to be the dentist to all these DJs, and I'm going to be a DJ too. And we bought some, almost like high school kids, we bought some CD players and mixing boards and put them in the garage and started messing around with them. And I kept on it. And then by 2007, I actually started performing. And I have a friend who, believe it or not, is a very good high school science teacher and probably the best-known DJ in Atlantic City. And he would first have me start DJing at his parties at his house. And his parties were very small, usually about 150 to 200 people. And from there, he said, wow, everybody really loves the way you play. Why don't you play at the club? And I started playing in Atlantic City. It started to grow from there. Then I started playing here in New York. And, some other people heard me. And then I got a residency out in Los Angeles at Exchange, which is, it used to be the old Los Angeles Stock Exchange, and it became a nightclub. And it grew from there. Did EDC Festival. I've produced some music. And that's my other side. We all have this creative side to us, and that's how I express it.
That is
so
so
I love
cool.
it. Thank you.
Well, and the thing too is, because I see your career and I kind of see all the things that you're involved with, and clearly your day job is quite tolling to some degree. And I don't mean that in a negative way, meaning all of us that have a regular day job, for most of us, that's a huge part of our lives, and our career, of course, takes up a good chunk of time. So how often do you get in touch with that creative side of yourself? Because I imagine there's not a lot of time for that.
It's tough, and obviously DJing is a late night type thing. So whenever I would DJ, it would always be weekends. It would be a Friday night or a Saturday night because I don't work weekends in my day job. It's on occasion. If I get a nice opportunity to do a nice big performance, I'll do that. More of the smaller venues or smaller performances I'm passing on just because I'm so busy with the dentistry.
Sure.
But it's fun that I also get to do some music production in the studio and put some music out also, which most people kind of really don't know about. I really say I'm either a DJ or a dentist. I don't really say producing much, but that's how I get to express it. When I don't get a chance to go out there and play in front of a crowd, I'll be in the studio with one of my buddies and making music. That's
awesome. I like that. Now, this is going to sound like a dumb question, but not really. So So I was just in New York a couple of days ago, actually, and I got invited to a rap party, and there was a DJ there. And I just want to ask you, is this just me being naive? Okay, so this is like my first rap party I've ever gone to, and I can't remember the name of the bar. It was on Park Avenue, and it was downstairs, and it's like pitch dark. Okay. So I'm like, there's an inch of light, and all I see are flashing bulbs because of photographers, and there's a DJ. So I got to ask you this, because I'd like to consider myself intelligent. See, here I am at this rap party, and all I'm thinking is, how are you taking pictures in the dark? And more importantly, how are you playing that damn music in the dark? How is that happening? You got to be a heck of a DJ for that. Am I wrong here? I mean, is that the New York thing?
Know, it takes some practice. It definitely takes some practice to do. Thankfully, there is the wonderful world of computers with lit buttons and controllers, and we might sneak in a little flashlight here and there to help us put stuff together. Yes, but we keep that very incognito. Yeah.
Aha. See, I knew it. I knew there was a trick. So I'm thinking, I mean, I know you're good at what you do, but I'm like, man, that's got to be really challenging. So kudos to you on that one.
Thank you.
Will you be producing or putting together your own independent music, maybe like a CD or something that we could watch out for, or maybe even in film, because I do a lot in independent film?
Oh yeah, we with I have a studio partner. His name is David DeBone, and he's from New Jersey, and he's been in the music industry for I'd say about almost 30 years. And we have put out some tracks. We have some stuff out on Amazon and iTunes. We were in a short independent film. They had the track in there, and we're working on putting together a nice EP and to put that out. So if you look on I'll definitely post that on my Instagram and my DJ Instagram, which is at DJ Eddie Alvarez. And or my Facebook, which is the same, or Twitter, they're the same.
Right.
And I might sneak it in there and some promotion on my dental page as well. You know, a little cross promoting.
Good idea. Hurts. Exactly. We're all about promotion, shameless promotion on this show. So I talk about everything.
Absolutely.
But I think it's important because honestly, I know that this might sound weird to some people, but I believe that anyone who's creative in one area takes that creativity and it spills over into other areas. And we're going to talk about that in a little while in this interview, because I'm betting that some of the creativity that comes from your musical endeavors actually flows over to your medicinal world, would be my guess.
Absolutely.
So we're going to find that answer out in a little bit. I want to talk about the fact that obviously I know you were born in Queens, but you were raised on Long Island. Everybody tries to sell me on Long Island, but I've not been in the city long enough. You know, I'm always kind of flying in the city. So tell me a little bit about Long Island in and of itself, because the people there just seem like it's a whole other country from New York. Am I making sense? Like, there's the city, then there's Long Island. You get me?
Oh, absolutely. And it's even people in Long Island never refer to Manhattan as Manhattan; they refer to it as the city. So it was always, we're going to go to the city,
gotcha.
Because there's absolutely no other city in this world, right? According to New Yorkers, just Manhattan. No, growing up on Long Island was great. Long Island has definitely gone through a lot of different evolutions, and you know, it's almost a small state onto its own, because you have what they call the North Shore, and then you have the South Shore, and then you have the East End. So you've got, you know, the Hamptons and Montauk and all that, which during the summer obviously is pure craziness and celebrities and everybody with their big, you know, homes out there, and it's a scene. During the winter times, then people are a little bit calmer. You have the regulars out there, and they're a different breed, so to speak, from the summer people. The North Shore, which I actually used to work in the North Shore when I first started my dental career, is beautiful. You get a lot of commuters, a lot of people from, you know, finance people and whatnot, and it's beautiful homes and everything's nicely manicured. And the South Shore, which is kind of where I grew up a little bit, is a little more, I'm not going to say blue collar, but compared to the North Shore. And so it was a lot of people, who went over from Queens and from Brooklyn that kind of moved on up like the Jeffersons, and we went to the South Shore of Long Island. And it was wonderful. You know, I grew up in a mostly Italian neighborhood. My background is Colombian, but my neighborhood was Italian, which was great because I got to work in a wonderful pizzeria, and I learned how to cook and make my own sauce. And it was something different from coming, because in Queens, where I grew up, which was in Corona, it was basically African American and Latino neighborhood. So it was a little bit of a culture shock for me when we moved out to Long Island. I was 11, 12 years old, and I was the only Latino kid in my entire school. But it was a wonderful experience, and I'm still great friends with a lot of my high school friends. Thank God for Facebook. We all stay in touch, and we all support each other. And I love Long Island. I think it's a nice break from the city. And I lived in Long Island for a very long time. I actually now live in Westchester. And but I think for me, one of the best things about being in the suburbs is being able to escape the city. I can come to the city and have my profession by day, have my profession by night, and when I want to go home, I don't have to hear cabs or sirens or anything else, and I think it's very peaceful, and I truly love it. At the same time, things have grown where you've got wonderful restaurants and you've got great things to do. It's not like in the past where you had to go to New York City to enjoy nightlife or enjoy any of those things. You definitely have those in the suburbs.
It's very cool, and it sounds nice actually, because I'm going to be moving to New York for good in about 5 or 6 years, and so I've been kind of scoping out where to live, where not to live, and I'm with you. I'm so not Manhattan. Okay. I'm so not Soho. I'm so not Upper East Side. Well, I like not being broke, by the way. So, you want to stay away from those areas. So I'm like, in a perfect world, I'd live in the Village because I'm a writer. But I'm like, the reality is ridiculously expensive. So, I guess we'll, as somebody told me this last trip, they're like, just wait 5 years and see what the economy's like then, and then just decide where you want to go. So I'm like, okay, I'll keep asking between now and that, so we'll see.
I'm sure you'll find a wonderful place no matter where you come.
I hope so. Or you know what? All my friends will house me until I do. That's really the long and short. I'm just going to stay. I'm going to do the couch hopping by then. Now, I saw you because I creeped on you because that's my job as a journalist. And one of the things, actually two things I discovered are there are two very significant women in your life. And the first one I want to speak about is I'm a big believer in your success professionally in part by what surrounds you. You've spoken at great length about how inspiring and how intellectual and how intelligent your mother is. So I thought we should talk a bit about how she's not only inspired you, but what she has taught you that you've taken with you as a full-grown adult male.
My mother is truly my heart. She is my world. She's my everything, and she's my best friend. She's my confidant. I had an amazing relationship also with my dad who's passed away, but I really feel so blessed to have had two wonderful parents raising me. My mom was a teacher in Colombia, and when I was born in 73, they came in the late 60s, my parents. And my mother made it a mission to make sure that I was able to read, write everything in Spanish. I'm truly fully bilingual, which really helped me career-wise because later on I've been able to go and actually lecture in Latin America and teach cosmetic dentistry and whatnot in places like Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, Nicaragua, whatever. So in that sense, she helped me tremendously. My mother always tells me that no matter what you do, close off, or how we say in Spanish, close off with a touch of gold. That everything I do has to be done right, and that everybody who sees whatever I do will admire it, and that's really been very impactful in my life. I've never done anything halfway. I've always wanted to make everybody proud, particularly mom, and I always think it sounds kind of trite, but you want that if your mom ever saw you do something, would she be proud of you or not? And I truly live to that. And to this day, she's taught me everything about how to handle growth, how to handle adversity. Growing up in Queens and being in an immigrant family sometimes wasn't the easiest thing, and sometimes times were tough. And my mom showed me how resilient you can be, and taught me all the ways to always lift yourself up no matter what, and to have pride and to work hard. As a small business owner, that really helped me out. I started my practice here in 2002. It was just not even 1 year post 9/11. Here I'm a young Latino guy going into Midtown Manhattan in a fee-for-service practice, and a lot of people said, I don't know if you're going to do well. But those skills that Mom taught me really helped me out. In 2008, when everybody was suffering, 2008, 2009, with the market crash and all the different things, I took all those lessons that she gave me and I applied them to my business, and that kept me afloat and kept me strong and always kept me growing. And she's just inspiration. I every day people will laugh at me. I'm 44 years old, and I call my mother every single day, 2 or 3 times a day, without fail. And before I go to bed, I call her and I say good night, and I ask her to pray for me, and and I send her kisses and all that. And it sounds silly, and I'm old for that, but it's something that carries through, and that I then apply also that same love and affection to everything I do and everybody that I meet. My mother really taught me how to love. And I'm very, very thankful for that. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, definitely. Did you hear that, my children that are probably not listening to my show right now? I just wanted my own children to hear that, because if I could tell you how many times I've begged them, just answer the phone. Oh, yeah, 2 days later I get a text message, or, a day later, et cetera. Oh, we love our children, but let me tell you, that gray hair comes from somewhere. So just so you kids know, thanks for that gray. I appreciate that. You should get a lesson here. Now, the other thing I learned about you, good doctor, is I was on your Instagram, and number one, you scared the hell out of me with your Halloween costume. Very, very, very nicely done, I have to say, because I did see that. And I have actually seen your Lady Love without her costume on. So, of course, I'm going to probably break the hearts of many out there and let them know that you are not single. That is correct, I assume.
That is correct.
So we
I'm
want
an
to talk
engaged
about that
man.
girl. She must be completely New York, because she's beautiful looking. Everyone in New York is attractive, just so you know. Literally. MJ's attractive. Everybody I meet there, you're not ugly. It's like you got beat with a beauty stick. That's what I call it. So, again, we want to revert back to, I'm guessing she's not a dentist. I'm guessing she's not a musician. Is she in the same field? How did you guys end up becoming an engaged couple?
We ended up meeting through a mutual friend, a friend of mine that I've known for many, many years, that they knew each other. And I had ended a relationship, and I was just coming out of that, and my friend said to me, she said, I have the perfect girl for you. And I said, no way. I said, I just got out of a relationship. The last thing I want to do is get into another relationship. And she kept bugging me, and for about 3-4 months, and she eventually got sick of me saying no. And she says, listen, this girl is amazing. She's wonderful. She is going to make somebody very happy. And I'm telling you for the last time, either that's going to be you that she's going to make happy, or it's going to be somebody else. I'm going to let you choose. And I said, all right, fine, I'll give her a call. And I called her up, and the usual story. We were on the phone for hours, and I remember there was a big blizzard here in New York, and I went and I shoveled snow, and I came back in and talked to her, and I went and shoveled again and came back and talked to her again, and it kind of grew from there. And she has really, truly been a blessing in my life. She is a very tough but cool but sweet, loving, caring woman. She's very protective of me. And she's very, you might look at her and you might think one thing, but the reality is that she's a very traditional woman. She, she's from overseas. She's actually from a country called Turkmenistan, but she is half Russian and half Armenian. And she was raised very traditionally in her home. And so she gets up, and this is going to sound terrible. She gets up at 5 in the morning when I get up to come to work, and she makes me breakfast. She makes sure that, all my stuff is ready to go for that day. She'll cook me some lunch because she says you have to stay in shape. So that way I don't eat junk here in the city. And she makes me my salads, and she gets mad if I don't eat them. And when I come home, she makes sure that the home is we have 2 puppies. She takes care of the puppies, and we have dinner, and we have a great, nice, quiet life together. Aside if I'm DJing, otherwise we love to do stuff at home. We love to do stuff with friends. And she's just been a true blessing. She helps me in every which way that I can ever imagine, more than I thought I would ever have from a partner. And we were engaged my birthday weekend, which was about 2 months ago, actually.
Right.
And we're getting married. Hopefully our date is 1 year from today, actually.
Oh my
So
gosh!
it should be
How cool
November
is that?
2nd of
Well,
2018.
yay!
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
It's
So congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm a very
That's so
lucky man.
sweet. See? You are very lucky, considering most of us are single and we hate it. Just kidding. I mean, I kind of hate it, but don't hate it. There's some luxuries you have to know, and I'm always like, I'm truly, as sarcastic as I am, I truly am very happy to find love in your 40s, because I'm 40 myself. I'm actually a little older than you. It's tough. It's hard to find quality people. And in New York, there's about 4 million of them. So then your odds are like, oh, my God, right? So I think that's very sweet, and I'm really, very happy for both of you. And that has to help. Happy wife, happy life, I think they call it, or something. So you're definitely paving your way for success, good doctor. Okay, now I have a bunch of different questions. First of all, and again, just so you know, we bounce around like this on purpose because I really want people to understand you're not just a musician, you're not just a cosmetic dentist, you're not just one thing, you're a multitude of things. Like, for instance, I understand, because I found out and I creeped on you, that you speak Italian. You must tell me if there is such a thing as teaching dummies how to speak Italian. I've been trying to figure out how to speak Italian for years, and I'm not getting it. I don't know what it is, and again, I think I'm smart, and I'm going to ask the guru on the other phone, so how do I do this? This is the most romantic language in the world, and men obviously can't speak it, at least the ones I meet. So I'm like, I'm going to ask him. So how do I learn to be more I want to learn at least another language. I know a bit of French, so I want to try to expand my horizons.
Okay.
What do you think would be the easiest way for me to do something like that?
You know what did it for me, and it's funny because I get I'm out of practice or in practice. This is going to sound silly. Buy Rosetta Stone and go to Italy. And that's exactly what I did. And it sounds really funny, but I bought Rosetta Stone about 2 months before I took my first Italian trip. I've subsequently been back to Italy about 6 times, and and I went there and I just started practicing, and just little by little. I mean, also I speak Spanish, so it makes it a little bit easier. But it's just immersion, and I went there and I forced myself to try to speak Italian as much as I could, and after 2-3 weeks, I'm already pretty decent, and I can get along and no problems, and less sign language, as the weeks go by. I have to do less, But I think that the power of Rosetta Stone is amazing, how quickly I learned and was able to apply it. And like I said, and then I've been back so many times. Every time I go, I learn a little more, and I get a little more comfortable, and after about 6 trips, you can do okay with, you can do more than just ordering wine and nice dinner, so...
Good deal. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, one of these days I will do that and get to Italy. But again, I think that goes back to I refuse to go until I find the right one. So it could be a while. Right. Otherwise, I'm caving in and going next year, Doc. But I'm going. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a curiosity question because I know that you obviously went to NYU, the College of Dentistry. But what I found intriguing and interesting was that you also have a degree in acupuncture through Harvard. So I want to understand how a guy that does what you do, because it would just seem to me, maybe I'm crazy, acupuncture and dentistry, not really the same. Am I wrong here? I mean, I was curious about that. I thought that was kind of an interesting twist in your path.
Yeah, it's something that I found kind of interesting. One of the things is which I sometimes mention, I sometimes don't. I'm a member of Mensa. So my brain is always going. I always need to find something else to learn and something else to do. We had been exposed to acupuncture back in dental school. There was a dentist who came in who practiced acupuncture in Chinatown here in New York. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool, And then I had gotten a chance to go actually to China to study it, and I couldn't take advantage of that opportunity. A few years later, I then was looking at Harvard and, okay, what else can I do here? And I saw that they had a course for physicians. It was particularly structured for physicians. And it would be a 1-year course. Typically, acupuncture is a 3-year or a 4-year course of study. But because you're already a doctor, they reduce it down to 1 year. And I applied, and lo and behold, I was accepted to the program. So I was able to go to Harvard and learn with, some incredible teachers. I think one of the most wonderful things was the other physicians that was there. I was the only dentist in the program, but the physicians that were there and kind of seeing a different approach to medicine and a different point of view, which I also applied to dentistry. In terms of just the application of acupuncture and dentistry, there's TMJ problems, there are headaches, there are neck problems that come from, bite discrepancies and whatnot. And I saw this as an adjunct to other treatment that I already do. I incorporate lasers, putting lasers on acupuncture points and different things like that. But the course itself was structured as a full-body acupuncture course. It's a particular type of acupuncture, which is Japanese acupuncture. And so I have patients that come in. I'm licensed by the state. I'm, a certified acupuncturist, and I've done everything from tennis elbow to insomnia to, whatever ailments may come along that may be helpful for acupuncture. And I always tell people that, like anything else, it's something that is an addition to medicine. I truly believe there's a symbiotic relationship there between Eastern and Western medicine. I don't think one particular venue or the other is the cure, but we have to be more open in the Western world to the Eastern medicine. I always, people will tell me, well, how does acupuncture work and whatnot? And I said that, right now there is no real explanation to how it works. There's a lot of theories, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't work. And I always give people the example of, in the Dark Ages, you had wizards and witches, and they, did smoke and fire and all these things, and nobody understood what it was. They just saw that they did it. Well, later on we came to learn that it was chemistry, right? It was just, they were just chemists that were able to do these things. Well, here's the thing with acupuncture, it does work. There's something to it. People see a benefit from it. Just because we can't explain it right now doesn't mean that it doesn't work and doesn't mean that it's not valuable. And I'm very, very happy and very proud to be able to offer that to my patients and to new patients, and give them another avenue for treatment, and not just have to look at something in terms of medication or traditional modalities.
You betcha. In fact, I have a good question relative to that. Let's say, for instance, like me, we'll use me as a good target example. I've always had an innate fear of needles, obviously, and clearly acupuncture does utilize some form of that. So let's say that you have a patient call in and they make an appointment to have an acupuncture treatment. What are some of the ways in which you, as the doctor, knowing full well that there's a sense of nervousness or maybe even hesitancy on the part of the patient, how do you tend to try to alleviate that prior to treatment time?
In terms of an acupuncture patient, or in terms of any patient? In terms of an acupuncture patient.
Acupuncture. Yeah.
Well, I think the important thing is, whether it's acupuncture, whether it's whatever, is establishing a good rapport with that patient and a good relationship. And I think the biggest mistake that many practitioners make in medicine, dentistry, or whatever, is seeing the patient as a problem or as a medical condition or as an illness, as opposed to seeing them as a patient. And if you come in and many times patients will come into my practice no matter what they're getting done, and we'll sit and we'll talk for 20, 30 minutes before I pick up an instrument, before I pick up anything at all, because I really want to know why this person is there, what are their needs? How can I help them? What can I do for them? And where are they coming from psychologically? Because we all have different, psychological needs. A cavity is not a cavity is not a cavity, or whatever it may be. And in the case of an acupuncture patient, they may have anxiety or whatever. I really want to know why. I am not, averse to showing them on myself and saying, hey, okay, here's an acupuncture needle. Let me show you on my own arm or on my own leg or whatever that it's not going to hurt. Let me show you how it's going to benefit you. There are other things that we can do in terms of using lasers on acupuncture points as well. It doesn't have to be a needle immediately. And maybe we can slowly build into treating with needles or the different things that we would use. I show them, I explain to them as best as I can, and just as with my dentistry, I love it when my patients are part of the solution and they are part of the treatment. I think when you build a partnership with them mentally and clinically, the results are so much better. and patients are so
Sure.
much happier. And I that's what I want. I want that happy patient. I want that patient to say, I went there and my needs were met, and I'm satisfied, and I'm a happy person.
That's awesome. I like that mentality. And putting the customer first, obviously, I think is fundamental for many different reasons, because clearly if you're not addressing their needs first and foremost, I think that they walk away remembering that, and great customer service is one of the things that I know that you provide. I know that before I had an opportunity to talk to you for the first time, I found out that you had provided something for Freedom USA Day, which was free cleanings and extractions and other dental work that you were offering to the military and to the veterans and to their families, which I thought was phenomenal. I actually put a big post up about this. I was so excited because I'm like, that's a phenomenal thing to give back to the community. I also did not know that you had actually served, so thank you very much. I know that you were in the Air Force.
Thank you.
Talk a bit about that experience, because I think oftentimes we don't get to hear enough from our people who have served in the military and their experiences, et cetera. Were you in for a significant amount of time, and was that part of the predicating reason for doing this Freedom USA Day, or have you in the past done community event days and given back to the community in prior times?
Well, I was in the Air Force Auxiliary, which was a great thing. I was in for 2.5 years, which was wonderful because I was able to do other things at the same time. I think I wanted to go into the full Air Force and whatnot, and my mother, going back to her, would have killed me because she said, why are you going to go fly a plane and kill yourself? You know, because that's what moms say. But being in the auxiliary was wonderful, and it taught me many things, taught me a lot of discipline. I got to spend some time at Plattsburgh Air Force Base, which was up in the Canadian border in Plattsburgh, New York, and I got to meet some great people. And all those things, you know, I think who we are today is an accumulation of different little things that we've gotten along the way. One of the things that it taught me was just a lot of respect. Not that I already didn't have that from home, because my parents made sure of that, but you know, in additional different ways of carrying yourself. I think ways of not quitting. I remember when I went to our little basic, or our encampment, as they called it. The first day they made me run a mile, and I was out of shape, and I ran a mile in about 14 minutes. In 2 weeks, they had me down to 6 minutes running a mile. And when I was running and I was ready to quit, I had somebody behind me yelling and screaming and telling me, don't quit. If you quit and you die, I will bring you back to life and make you run more. So it teaches you something, you know, in whatever way people try to motivate you. But it makes you want to excel and exceed in everything you do. And it taught me a lot of respect also for our country. You know, with all the controversies, and I don't really want to get into the whole flag controversies with different meanings and whatnot, but for me, it's something that I respect, and that, you know, to this day I hold a flag very dear, just for our country and what it means to me.
Of course.
So, you know, seeing so many people that have given of themselves, whether it was in Iraq, or whether it was in, you know, Afghanistan or Vietnam, or, you know, my father was much older when I was born, so my father actually volunteered for the end of World War II, but he turned 17 right when it ended, so he couldn't go. But the thing is, we've always wanted to do service, and we've always wanted to give back, and I have a lot of friends in the military. I have a lot of respect for them. So when this opportunity came about for Freedom Day USA, I said, absolutely, this is something I want to do. I want to help others. One of the gentlemen that came in is a former Marine, and I really shouldn't say former Marine, because once a Marine, always a Marine. And we've built a great friendship. He's a wonderful photographer. He has an incredible story. And I got to do some work for him, some pro bono stuff, and just the sheer joy that was in his eyes. And he said, nobody's ever done anything like this for me. And that made it all worth it. You know, it's at the end of the day, it's not about money. It's not about success. It's not about fame. It's about how you feel and how you make somebody else feel, and being good to people. You have to be good to people, and that's more than I could ever ask for. All those other things may or may not come, and that's great, but getting to do something for our veterans and for people who gave completely of themselves. They don't have to go out there. They don't have to get shot at. They don't have to, do all these things, be away from their families on holidays. And I feel bad for the poor wives or husbands that have their wife or husband in the Navy and they're gone for 6 months or whatnot. And it's a terrible thing. And anything that we can do as civilians now or civilians in general, I think we should do, because we have to show our appreciation for what they do for us, because without them, things would be a lot different here. And I'm very, very thankful. And it also
are very... Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I was going to say,
no,
and
go
as
ahead.
well as
Proceed.
I'm also a police surgeon for the state troopers here in New York State Troopers, and for Amtrak's police, and I always give back to our law enforcement because my best friend is a detective here at NYPD, and any chance that I get to help, I do. When we had Hurricane Sandy hit New York, and a lot of New York area, a lot of people don't know that over 300,000 homes were destroyed here. And I went and was with NYPD for 2 weeks. I basically closed my office and went out into the field. And I was providing any medical care that I could give, helping out, handing out food, handing out supplies, anything that I could do. And it was amazing how I felt in our own country during this event, how needy we were, and we forget about how vulnerable we are. And being able to help, it really meant the world to me. And every opportunity that I get, I do. We also there was an earthquake in Ecuador, so my staff and we all collected dog food and dog supplies and everything to give to send to Ecuador for the rescue dogs that were doing search and rescue and finding victims. So no matter what it is, we're always trying to find something. I'm trying to do this with my fiance helps me on many of my endeavors. My staff, we're all on the same page of giving back to whoever we can, because that's why we're really here, is to help others, as far as I'm concerned.
I gotcha. Then, of course, obviously, I have to ask. So the turnout, how did it go? How many people were you able to service on that day?
We had a couple of veterans come through. I wish we had a couple more. New York is always a tough place because there's really no military base here, as opposed to in other places. So we didn't get that many, but we had a few, and that's all we need. We just need to touch one person and to help them out, and that makes everything worthwhile.
Isn't he wonderful? That's all I can think. I'm just sitting here and I'm like, oh my God, you're so wonderful. And you're so not industry.
Thank you.
I deal with a lot of entertainers and a lot of people that have some egos. I love you, my filmmakers and my directors, but I work with a lot of ego people, so this is so refreshing. I can't stand it. Okay, we want to talk about a bunch of different things you've done. For instance, talk to me about Brotox. I'm like, I have never heard anybody refer to. I'm having an event, and it's called Brotox. It's a Brotox event. I'm like, I'm going to totally make him talk about this, because we all know what he's talking about. We're talking about it anyway. Where did the Brotox idea come from?
It's funny. It's like a dirty little secret for men. It used to be the ladies who had the dirty little secret that they would get a little nip and tuck, or they would get a little Botox here and there. Now it's the guys. And you would be surprised how many guys come and say, hey, Doc, can you fix this over here? Or, whatever, I'm going to get into a new relationship and I need to get a little spiffy and whatnot. So we said, hey, why don't we do an event for men that's Brotox? If there's Botox, there's Brotox. And MJ, my wonderful publicist, really helped me out quite a bit, her and Amy over at Intrapreneur. And we had some wonderful gentlemen come through. We had some former NFL players come through, and some musicians. A boxer came through. We people that you wouldn't expect all of a sudden came and got their Botox, and some of them were virgins. It was their first time getting a little Botox, and they are virgins no more, and now they're devotees to the Botox needle. So it's good, and it's nice to be able to show that it's okay for men to take care of themselves as well. It's all right. They shouldn't be embarrassed. They shouldn't feel strange or weird or anything like that. It's just like working out. Hey, you can't really work out your face, so you leave that to the doctor to help you out with that, so that looks good just like the rest of the body.
I totally get that, actually. And we want to get into a conversation about that because I'll tell you, again, God, I'm a great journalist and a great writer, but I'm like so stupid about what you do. Not because I haven't done my job, but because these are more interesting questions. Because I almost have to speak for all, I have 60,000 listeners, and most of them don't know the kind of knowledge that you know about this particular area. So I want to try to keep our audience as informed as possible about some of these procedures that are out there. Because I'm guessing in the world of cosmetic surgery, things are changing on a dime. You know what I mean? Every time I turn around, within 6 months, there's a new technique, a new procedure, a new et cetera. So maybe if you could talk to your audience a bit about if you're going to delve into the world of cosmetic surgery, period, whether you've done it once, twice, whatever, is there such a thing as a so-called regimen, meaning I go see Dr. Alvarez today for XYZ procedure? Is there a set calendar, if you will, for lack of a better term, meaning how often should we be getting it? Is there such a thing? Because some people say it's too much too often sometimes. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you what my rep for my company that produces Botox, which is Allergan, she said, you dentists, you guys are really good at having recalls because you already bring your patients back every 6 months for cleanings. Now you just have to bring them back every 6 months for Botox. And it's kind of funny, but she's right. She's right in that sense that Botox is basically, for those that don't know, it's a neurotoxin which basically paralyzes or relaxes the muscles. And what we do is we mark and we target the muscles that when we use them, they cause wrinkles. So what happens with every time you do the Botox, it weakens the muscle a little bit. So there's less and less of a need to come back, believe it or not. So if somebody comes in and gets Botox for the first time today, they might need to come back in 3 to 4 months and be Botoxed again. But then the time after that, it might be 4 to 5 months, and then it may be 6 or 8 months. So it's something that you should continue to do periodically. If you stop, some people say, oh no, once I start, I can't stop. And that's not true. You'll just go back basically to your baseline of where you were before. So you don't have to worry that, you've done some sort of damage or anything like that. But it is beneficial to have some sort of maintenance program where you go back every, 6 months or so and just touch up things and keep things fresh. Now, being here in New York City, sometimes you see people on the street that look like they've been stuck in a wind tunnel, and they've maybe gone back for Botox a little bit too often. And you definitely shouldn't do that. But I think in the hands of somebody who is well-trained and is a professional and is ethical, which is, I think, a big component to it, you can have good treatment that, just looks natural, and you should just look nice and rested and just look fresh. And it is possible to have a regular routine with Botox.
Gotcha. Now, if I were to ask you, within your practice, if you could tell me for probably your top technique relative to males and females in the world of Botox, let's say, because there are different procedures. I assume that you're offering different techniques or procedures, correct? So if you would, please, let us know, oftentimes when people are visiting the office, what are they most utilizing in terms of that particular area of your practice?
So the aesthetic medicine side of my practice, the majority is dermal fillers, which is products such as Juvederm or Voluma or things like that, which are hyaluronic acid fillers that we place to fill in the wrinkles, basically the folds and whatnot. We use them for that, as well as to do lip augmentation, so to give somebody nicer, fuller lips. And then there's the Botox, which is to take away wrinkles. And then something else which is amazing, which I believe I was one of the first, if not the first dentist to be certified, at least here in New York, was in something called Kybella, which is deoxycholic acid, which is found in our body, and it basically destroys fat. So it is used to take away somebody's double chin. You inject it. It's an alternative to liposuction, and it will permanently remove the fat cells from under your chin, and your double chin will be gone forever. So that is a wonderful procedure that people are starting to do more and more. I would say the majority of my procedures for men, the biggest thing is either Botox in the forehead, or a lot of men do filler in the line that forms between the corner of your nose and the corner of your mouth. So I do have some wonderful pictures up of one gentleman who, it's funny to say this, but we took 10 years off of his face by removing those lines non-surgically, and he comes back for maintenance probably every 3 to 4 months and has a little bit of filler put in, and he basically completely eliminated those lines that he had there, which were very deep, heavy folds, and he looks much younger and healthy. Those lines, those lines will come back if you don't use the filler again. But little by little, instead of trying to wait too long and then have to come back and put this in, he comes back, in short periods and just kind of maintains, which is great. In terms of women, probably the most popular for younger women is the lips, to do lip augmentation with Juvederm. And I'm a believer in giving somebody nice, beautiful, full lips, not kind of the big duck lips. So if they want the big duck lips, I'm not the doc for them. They have to go to a quack. Get that? Bad humor. But
I'm here all day.
But I'm bummed. Yeah, I'm here all day. But for the women that are not the 20-something-year-olds, it's mostly Botox in the forehead as well, and the crow's feet, which is also great.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's correct. Now, I know very recently, as of October 19th, was your last day of beauty. I saw that, and that's not the first time that you've done the day of beauty before. So let's say, for instance, somebody is a new visitor to your clinic, or somebody's listening in and they're from this area or want to come and visit you on your day of beauties. Tell us how often you do them and what encompasses the day of beauty, if you will. What are you offering to your clients?
A day of beauty is basically a day where we spend the entire day doing only aesthetic medicine, no dentistry, nothing like that. And we set up special prices for everybody. So we, somebody who might have not have done it before or whatnot, they can get a little introduction at a lower cost. And we have the events catered. And so we had a celebrity chef, Chris Nerschel, here, not last day of beauty, but the one before that. And we usually have a little wine and champagne for the ladies and gentlemen that are here, so that they can kind of socialize as well. And so they'll come in, and I can explain all the different types of procedures that we do, and the different variations of products that we have. And if they want, they can go ahead and have a procedure done that day. And that's basically the day of beauty. It's a wonderful event where you don't feel like you're just going into a clinic to get something done. It's a day where you have other people. We also have our rep here, so she can answer any questions that patients may have. And it's a wonderful way to kind of get into aesthetic medicine.
You bet. Now, on the flip side of the fence, meaning the dental side, I have some questions relative to that. Two of the things that you pinpointed, actually, that I saw on social media that I thought you should talk to your audience about, which I never would have guessed, which is how pineapples affect us in terms of a dental perspective, as well as scuba diving. I was like, oh, my God. I saw these things, and I was like, holy man, I never would have considered the impact it has on us dentally in terms of these sorts of things. Could you speak to both of those? Because I think that's quite intriguing.
Yeah, pineapples have bromelain, which is great in terms of an antibacterial quality, but also many times people end up getting mouth sores from pineapple. So sometimes people have an allergic reaction to it. So it's definitely a plus and minus, and we're getting into all the different types of things, such as coconut oil pulling and all the different procedures that our people are trying to do using natural health products. And then things such as scuba diving, it's amazing with the regulator, which people will use in their mouth to breathe. Many times people are developing things such as TMJ problems and facial pain and those types of things from the diving. And people have to really be careful in terms of having older fillings and make sure that nothing is breaking. It's very easy to also fracture teeth and whatnot with scuba diving if you're not careful with the regulators. Yeah, it's something that we never think about until we get there.
Right, that's exactly right. And the other thing, of course, too, somebody was telling me the other day, I've had this fortunate luck, and that's very sarcastic, of the partners that I have managed to get in life, all snore. And then somebody said to me once when I was dating them, go see a dentist. And I thought, what? Okay, so help me out here. Snoring, dentistry, please explain the connection if you would, because I was totally lost when I heard that.
Absolutely, and just like in other areas of medicine, they're beginning to see how dentistry actually has a huge impact in these areas of medicine.
Right.
With cardiovascular and all these different things, but one of the biggest ones is sleep apnea and snoring. Now, I just went to a major symposium on snoring and sleep apnea and obstructive sleep apnea, as they properly call it, at Boston University. And they were talking about some of the work they're doing down in Texas and whatnot. And the newest development they're showing is that they feel that snoring and sleep apnea is actually coming from a lack of facial development and basically a constriction of your face, of your maxilla and mandible, your jaws, basically. And they're seeing that the proper way to treat it is hopefully to catch it very early, and this is when your children will go to see their dentist and their orthodontist and make sure that their face and their mouth is developing properly and that it's big enough and wide enough to have room for the tongue. So that's one approach. The other approach is most people who get treated for snoring or sleep apnea use something called a CPAP machine. And a CPAP machine basically looks like a fighter pilot mask, and it will basically force air or oxygen, while you sleep, so that to prevent you from going into a state of hypoxia or too little oxygen. The problem with this is that most people can't sleep with a mask that they should be flying in a plane with. So they don't wear it. And what ends up happening is that people will suffer, and snoring is really a symptom of sleep apnea. And
right.
What happens when you have this sleep apnea, you end up with high blood pressure because the whole night you're going through what's called a microarousal. When you don't have enough oxygen in your bloodstream, your brain starts to say, uh-oh, let's go into panic mode. We need to get oxygen in there. So it kind of wakes you up a little bit from your sleep. And then you go back to sleep, and it wakes you up again. And all these little things, every time it wakes you up, the way it wakes you up is by stimulating your adrenal glands, and you're releasing adrenaline. And you get a little spike in blood pressure every time. You get a little spike in your heart rate. And over time, that damages your heart. It gives you high blood pressure. And it also leads to other things, such as diabetes and whatnot. So going back to treatment, the way dentistry would be involved is they found that the FDA has approved the alternative treatment to CPAP is a dental advancement device. So basically, we put in a device that looks like a mouth guard into your mouth in the top and the bottom, and it brings your jaw forward. And by bringing your jaw forward, it also brings the tongue forward and everything, and it opens your airway. And you're able to breathe properly while you're sleeping. So you're not going to be snoring. You're not going to be, none of those things. It helps out tremendously. And I actually had a patient not too long ago who I made him one of these devices because he was CPAP non-compliant, and he went back to his sleep physician, and the sleep doctor was amazed at how this guy had basically eliminated his sleep apnea by using this dental device. It's a very simple thing. It only takes 2 visits to do, and it's very easy, and it doesn't disturb you in any way. So it's a great alternative to see your dentist for your sleep apnea problem.
Gotcha. Instead of looking like Darth Vader, because that's kind of what it sounded like here to me, is like this huge apparatus, and oh my God, how scary is that?
Exactly.
In terms of the dental side, well, you know what I'm saying? Why lie about it? Because nobody wants to look like that. Nobody really wants to sleep with someone like that. I mean, it's not your fault, but I can't help it. Now, on the dental side of things, I've been hearing, and more so because my son is getting braces in a month, yay,
Yeah.
said no one ever. So obviously, of course, there's always dental advancements, just like there are with the cosmetic side of things. So I'm going to assume that you do, have you advanced to the point where you're doing things such as I've heard there's invisible braces, color braces. I've heard that there are new techniques in terms of abstractions, or extractions, I should say, things along those lines. So if you wouldn't mind, just tell your listening audience a bit about some of the newer technologies that you've been using, because things change so quickly, we may not be able to keep track of some of the stuff in technology today.
Oh, it's amazing how dentistry has changed. I mean, even I've graduated almost 20 years ago, and things are completely different. You know, in my office we do what's something called CEREC dentistry, which is basically a CAD/CAM system, computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing, where if you've ever gone to the dentist and had impressions done for your crowns or your veneers or anything like that, where they put this rubber goop in your mouth, and then you have to wear some temporaries, they send it out, and it takes a couple weeks before you get your crown. Well, you know, in my office we don't do that at all. What we actually do is we do an optical scan with a little camera that goes in your mouth. We design everything with you. I design it with my patient. I want their input. And going back to, you know, bringing artistic things into our practice. So I design everything on a computer screen, and we make the crown or the veneer or whatever it may be right there in the office in under an hour. So basically, I'll give you an example of this week. We had a patient who wanted her entire smile made over, and we ended up doing 16 teeth, so 8 on top and 8 on bottom. We did all veneers, and this is something that would normally take 2 to 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and we did it in 2 days. One day we spent the day, and we did everything start to finish, permanently cemented in her mouth on one day, and then she came back 2 days later, and we did the entire mouth, the entire bottom of the mouth. So one day the top, one day bottom, and she's has her special event on this Saturday that she wanted to have a new smile for, and she was able to do that, you know, and that's completely different in dentistry now. And I also use a lot of different lasers in my practice where we can remove decay. We don't have to necessarily drill a tooth anymore. I can use a laser to take care of a cavity instead of using a drill. And because I'm not using a drill, I don't have to give anesthesia. So I don't, you know, there's no needle involved, which is a great benefit for for children and for big children who don't like needles either.
Exactly.
So that's great. We have infrared cameras that I use in my practice so that we can look for decay without any radiation. So for that patient that may be wary of getting x-rays, we can use the infrared camera to find the decay and look in between the teeth. We also have digital x-rays, which reduces radiation by 90%. So those old school radiographs they used to take that really kind of lit you up like a light bulb, now you don't have to face that anymore. There's other lasers that I use, such as a cavity detector. So we're able to pass the little laser over the grooves of your teeth, and it will tell you if there's any decay or, you know, any cavities that are hiding underneath there. It just makes the practice so much more fun for the patient, for the doctor. It makes life easier, and every day it's something new. And my patients usually come in and they say, "Hey, doc, what new toy do you have this time for me?" Cool. It's a great thing to have technology and how things have changed in dentistry. It's not, the old dentistry that the office would smell terrible and you'd hear terrible noises coming out of the rooms. Dentistry is much nicer now. Yeah.
Yay! Thank God for that. And we don't want to forget to mention the obvious, which is this. Most of us at some point in time or another, because we're aging and, of course, for various reasons, smoking, diet, whatever, our teeth tend to deteriorate a little bit, and obviously the coloration changes. So to those that have not been to the dentist before, I wanted to cover this since you are a professional. Some of us who have gone out and bought the box job and done the cleaning and the whitening of our teeth. Obviously, we want to talk about that because there are some dentists that say that that's perfectly fine. I've asked a few, and they were like, that's okay to do as long as you don't make a habit out of it. And then there are other dentists that say, you know what, you really should have it done by a professional. So I'm curious to ask you, for the health of us, in terms of whitening, how often should we be doing it, and is it okay to be doing box, or is it better for us, from a health perspective, to be seeing somebody who can handle it on a professional level?
Well, I think it's always best to have it done professionally. One of the things is, people may have a mouth that's they haven't, like you said, they haven't been to the dentist in many years, and they've got a lot of buildup and whatnot, and they go buy, whitening strips or whatnot, and they end up just whitening the tartar and actually not the tooth, because you have to clean that tartar off first. So it's always recommended to get a professional cleaning before you do any type of whitening procedures, any type of whitening products. The other thing, the stuff that you're going to buy over the counter, unfortunately, is kind of, since it's generic, it's made for everybody. The bleaching gel that they use tends to get on your gums. It can very easily irritate your gums. People will burn their gums, and they'll complain of irritated gums or sensitivity on their teeth. If somebody's got decay present, that bleaching agent can get into the decay and cause some pain. So it's always best to have your mouth looked at professionally and done in the office, or with a product that's dispensed by a dental office for you to take home. There are many different options, everything from generic bleaching trays to custom trays, and then there's the usual suspects, which are the blue LED lights that you've seen. Sometimes you see them at the mall. And then in my office, I also use a different type of laser. I'm all about lasers, hence the name NYC Laser Dentist.
That's scary. But, I'm just saying.
Yeah. But we use a different laser. We use a different laser specifically for whitening that really has no sensitivity or very little sensitivity associated with it, which many other products do. And it's very quick. It's usually about 30 minutes, and it works incredibly well. But the gels that we use in the office are very strong, and they need to be professionally applied just to make sure that you don't end up with any burns or anything else going on there that you shouldn't get.
I understand completely. And just when you think he hasn't done enough with his life, get this, folks. Not only is he on the board of advisors for the Dentist's Money Digest, but he is also responsible for authoring articles in places such as the Huffington Post. So just so folks get an understanding of this, how often can they read your articles or the things that you put together in print? How often can we expect to see things like that?
I usually like to put something out that I've written at least once a month. I try to do something for Dentist Money Digest every month, and the same thing for Huffington Post as well. I'll find different topics, and I try to do something that's connected to dentistry, and then maybe something that may be a little bit different, but still in the medical field. I might be covering topics such as the opioid addiction problem that we're having, or different issues like that as well.
I gotcha. Now, of course, if you folks want to read more about him besides Huffington Post, I know he's been featured in Industry Ruled magazine, Cranes New York, and the Nocturnal, along with about 1,000 other places. And you can read all about his lasers. I think we should start calling him Darth Vader. I'm getting this impression of the laser usage. Now, the last question before I read off all the different ways where people can find you, this is a testament to his work, folks, because I went and I creeped and I looked at all the various different reviews that the good doctor has had done. And over the course of time, there are 3 predominant things that stick out in the minds of his patients. So if you're wondering whether or not you should see Dr. Edward Alvarez, there's 3 reasons why. First of all, number 1, genuinely concerned about his patient's well-being. That speaks very high on the list for me. Number 2, he utilizes a number of painless laser techniques. There's that laser thing again. This is creeping me out. But yes, that was high marks. And number 3, most importantly, very knowledgeable about any and all subjects pertaining to his particular field. All those things are very impressive, but hopefully what's most impressive to the listening ear, I should say, during the course of this interview, is just how you have really vamped your practice to make life easier for people, not only in terms of their physical well-being, but just mental. Oftentimes when we go to the dentist, and I know I'm one of them, it's the mental anxiety and the angst that comes along with this is going to hurt and I'm going to be uncomfortable and how am I going to look? And it's not, I don't think, dentistry or cosmetic dentistry or cosmetic whatever is not just physical, it's also mental. So I think you've kind of taken away a lot of the stigmas, which is healthy. I think that you make it an enjoyable experience for your patients, which I think is wonderful. And most importantly, you're a good-looking dentist. I'm like, who wants to go? I mean, he's a walking representation of his practice, right? And if you don't believe me, check out his Instagram, because I have. And his girlfriend's cute. And I'm like, oh, my God, it's like Ken and Barbie. It's hard to compete with you, good doctor. But The last question I have to ask you is I'm required to ask this. I know people don't think about the idea of dentistry and playing professional sports or even on the college level or the high school level. I'm just curious to ask you is if you dealt with people that play football or sports and things like that because, well, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm working on a project involving CTE, so obviously football is a big thing. So
Right.
do you ever deal with people that play football and talk a bit about how serious it could potentially be in terms of the dental side of things and sports playing?
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of having different athletes come through. Christian Peter from the Giants and Charles Oakley's come through from the Knicks basketball, and I've had quite a few boxers and mixed martial artists and whatnot. And when we talk about CTE, concussions and things that happen, a lot of times people don't think about the importance of a mouth guard, and it sounds really silly. But a mouth guard, when an athlete wears it and they take that hit, it will prevent the jaws from snapping together and actually causing more trauma. It does provide some sort of support. I think dentally it's incredibly important. And, you look at hockey players and they're constantly getting hit and having to deal with different types of surgeries. One of my colleagues deals with a lot of the Pittsburgh Penguin players and whatnot. But it's incredibly important, and you see how these athletes need to protect their oral cavities as well as helmets, and like I said, mouth guards are incredibly important, and that goes back down to kids, kids that can get TBI, traumatic brain injuries, and all that on the field, playing field hockey, playing soccer even, which is a very physical sport that a lot of people don't think about, and obviously football and other things like that. So in the world of athletics, I think it behooves moms and dads to get their kids to a dentist to be properly fitted for something, and us as well, anybody who's a weekend warrior, to do that as well.
You betcha. I just had to cover that because I'm like, that's important because I think oftentimes people would never equate the dental side of things. We're always thinking about the other physicalities, but it is important to think about the fact that, yes, dental extends itself to 150 different things. So I'm going to read off a bunch of different places to find a good doctor. First of all, if you do want to find him, his name, again, is Edward A. Alvarez. He's located in Midtown East, actually, to be more specific, 210 East 36th Street in Suite 1H, if you wish to find him. Now, I'll read off a bunch of different places to find you. If I miss anything, please let me know, okay? His website is nyclaserdentist.com. He has a Facebook page, professional page, which is NYC Laser Dentist. He is on YouTube, Google+, LinkedIn, Amazon, iTunes, and, of course, his Twitter, again, same name, at NYC Laser Dentist, as well as his Instagram, NYC Laser Dentist. Any other place, obviously, of course, Huffington Post, we've covered that he contributes there. Anything that I might have missed?
Just the DJ side, which is DJ Eddie Alvarez. So it's basically the same thing.
And I
Twitter
have that written down. Darn it.
Yeah, and you can find me on SoundCloud. You can find me on YouTube. There, you can find me on, and they're all the same thing. DJ Eddie Alvarez.
Right.
So
that's what I thought. That's exactly right.
Yep.
Now, I don't want to forget to mention the obvious. Now that we have done our interview, usually takes about 2 hours or so, and then this episode becomes archived, and then I also upload it to YouTube. So I'll send over to you a copy of the Blog Talk Radio interview as well as a copy of the YouTube link so that you have both, obviously. And people can listen to you morning, noon, and night if they want to after today. It'll be about 2 hours or so. I don't want to forget to say to MJ, I tell her this all the time. I just saw her last week, as a matter of fact. She is just grace and class and elegance, hardworking, wonderful mother, wonderful friend. I mean, if I could have a sister, I'd probably keep her. I mean, she's so lovely and so many levels. I mean, we're very similar.
Absolutely.
And I always get excited interviewing her clients because she never disappoints. She works with some very hardworking, very humble clients. And I'm very pleased once again that she brought me another wonderful person. So thank you, MJ, from the bottom of my heart, which I'll tell you in my email later today. But thank you. I don't want to forget to remind you of that. And because you've never been on the show, there's two things I have to do to finish. For one, at the end, I get to tell you what I think of you. And please don't cry.
Okay.
The last two guests have cried. I don't think you're a dude, so you're not going to cry. But they cry, and then I get all worked up, and I'm like, okay. But there's always a surprise on the end of the show. So I'm like, okay, so before I tell you what I think of you, I have a surprise for you. I always try to take most of my radio show guests and incorporate them into my life in some way or another because I try to really legitimately keep the people that I interview long term. It's not just a one and done for me. First of all, know if you enjoyed the interview, you're more than welcome to come back anytime. I tell this to people constantly.
Thank you.
Even if it's just to, like you were saying, you had if you fear that you're going to have a give back day, just come on the show and I'll talk about it morning, noon, and night, and you'll get more people in there in a heartbeat. But first of all, know that you're welcome to come back. But more importantly, I literally just finished my film festival in New York City for 4 days. And one of the things that we've solidified after kicking my heels for a very long time is that I've decided as of January 1st, I'm going to start filming my own films. One of the ones that I'm working on, which I mentioned to you, was CTE. It's a very big thing for me, and it's going to be done on a very broad level. And I have a filmmaker who did a film on CTE that's going to be collaborating with me. So the long story short is, because I need somebody who's an expert in dentistry, I thought to myself, I wonder if I asked the good doctor if he might be interested in doing another independent film and putting himself in the course of that.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
And you don't have to say yes.
I would love to.
You could certainly say no. I don't want to put you up against the wall and be like, okay, because you're on air and there's only 60-some thousand people listening, so of course he feels like he's got to say yes, right? But no, just think it over. Obviously, we're not filming for a couple of months, but I would be honored. I've really been sniffing around trying to find some of the best within their field, and I have absolutely no doubt, based on the recommendations of your clients, your customers, people that visit you, your publicists, and just getting a sense of who you are in this interview, I can tell you that you're truly knowledgeable about your craft. You truly do care about the clients and customers that come in. You've provided carte blanche to every single one of them, whether they play on a football team or a basketball team, or just the average ordinary person, or somebody who has served our country. You treat them all the same, and you treat them with grace and class and elegance, not dissimilar to MJ. So not surprising that you're working together. So, and eventually I will be knocking on your door because I need some dental work, as much as I hate to admit it. But I'm avoiding you like the plague because you scare me. You all scare me. So I'm like, the less time I can be with you, it's kind of like the gynecologist. Yes, that's right, I said it. Gynecologist, dentist. It's one of those things. But the long story short is I am very grateful for your service for our country, so thank you so much. I'm very grateful that you are helping so many people and giving back to your community. I would love to listen to your music sometime, and if I could see the indie movie, I judge movies, and I review movies all the time. So if you can tip me off that, that'd be lovely. And like I said, don't be a stranger. I'm in New York all the time, so certainly I will probably knock on your door, and not for services like lasers, like you're mentioning, just to say hello. And certainly, think about the movie and let me know. And like I said, feel free to come back anytime. It's been lovely.
Thank you so much. It's been such a wonderful time. I appreciate you having me on your show, and I'm very thankful. Thank you.
Anytime. Like I said, I'll be around here, certainly, and we'll be in touch. So you have a great afternoon, my dear, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wasn't he just wonderful? And I have to tell you that those dentists scare me. And that whole cosmetic thing, right? Am I wrong here? It's like we all totally avoid him like the plague. But who wants to not talk to this guy, right? He's so sweet and he's so sincere and he's top-notch. Not surprising, right? He's a client of MJ's, so I'm not surprised at all whatsoever. But he is a true testament to the fact that there are men out there that are truly skilled and versed at what they do and totally about giving back. I mean, listen how impressive that was, from serving in the Air Force to becoming part of the Citizens Police Academy, nothing but impressive, and giving back to his community. He is top dog in my book. Again, one more time, it's nyclaserdentist.com. He's on YouTube, Google+, iTunes, Amazon, SoundCloud, LinkedIn. His Instagram and his Twitter are both the same, which is NYC Laser Dentist. And please make it a point to support his efforts if you would. Again, he's in Midtown East, address 210 East 36th Street, Suite 1H. And again, my love to MJ, of course, Indra Publications. This is how you can always tell when Cindy's talked too much in her interview. She can't talk anymore. MJ, last name is Pedone, Pedone. If you want to find her or the lovely Amy Rosen, it's indrapr.com, and that's spelled INDRAPR.com. She is the president of Indra Public Relations. She's a celebrity publicist. She reps athletes, entertainers, lifestyle brands. She's a philanthropist. She's an entrepreneur. She's a mom. And she's classy and sassy and beautiful. I can't even say enough about her. So if you need anything in the PR world, MJ is your girl in New York City. So go check her out. And again, as I mentioned, tomorrow on the show, we're going to be talking Naval Expo. That's 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm off to go get myself some very low sodium soup, have a nice long hot shower, and pray like hell I'm better for tomorrow's show. Thanks so much to everybody listening in. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.
When we listen to the radio, we never agree on the station.
Classic rock.
Hip-hop. Pop.
Guys, quiet. The one thing we do agree on, we all want an awesome free phone. That's why we switched to Metro PCS.
Stop by Metro PCS with the whole family and get 4 free phones of your choice from brands you love, like Samsung, Motorola, and LG when you switch. Metro PCS. Wireless figured out.
Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Free phone requires port. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.